with me here today is my friend Cynthia to talk with me about, I guess, what is usually misunderstood, the whole area of transgender people. We were discussing this before we started here, and I guess the first thing was to recognize the definitions, the distinctions, that transgender people means, what, 4 different groups of people or so?
Well, that's kind of the way that I see it. There are people refer to cross-dressers commonly as transvestites. We have a tendency to look at it a little differently. Transvestites being individuals who dress in the clothes of the opposite sex for sexual purposes. There are cross-dressers who cross-dressing is just a natural part of their lives, whether it be frequently or infrequently. Transsexuals, who are people that actually live the role of the opposite sex from their genetic birth. And the word transgender to me is kind of an umbrella term encompassing all of these individuals.
And of course with transsexuals then we get into the wonderfully over-sensationalized area of whether they're pre or post-operative. But that's a whole nother discussion.
That is.
And that's not really what we're trying to figure out this evening anyway, but wanting to come to some kind of understanding of transgender people being real people. So
everywhere you go, there is somebody in your life that you have met one time or another that does cross-dress or has cross-dressed. And they are ordinary people. They are very, for the most part, many of them are very hidden. But there comes a point in time in somebody's life that the cross-dressing is not an issue. It's how to live the life and blend that part of your life with your everyday normal life. People like myself were unable to do that. We had to maintain a lifestyle that was suitable for a permanency basis. We couldn't sit in a living room and be one person and go to work today as another person, living a dual life. We had to take the two and blend it into one somehow. And because of the fears that there are with the general public, with career, with family issues, it's a very, very difficult circumstance to keep this part of your life, keep it hidden. And what are the circumstances or what are the repercussions for allowing it to come out?
And this isn't something, as we're talking about this, I get the sense that this is not just something somebody does on a dare or something we do just for fun, but it's somehow much deeper than that, an integral part of you.
Yes, it is. We like to look at Halloween as National Cross-Dressers Day in America, and because you see a lot of it then, and of course the rest of the year you don't.
But that's an entirely different attitude
that's a different attitude. What it is for us is an everyday living situation.
When we were talking earlier, I guess I hadn't thought of it before, but it was interesting how you started comparing how it is for a gay or lesbian person to, quote, come out of the closet, so to speak, being honest with themselves and with those around them about who and what they are, and how the parallels and the differences for a transgender person.
All right, I'll use my own self as an example of that. When you come out, I'm sure that the issues are very similar to that of a person that is a member of the gay or lesbian community, in that you have to figure out what to say, how to say it, and who to say it to. There is such a great fear of the loss of those people in your lives that you value, that you have been friends with for so long, that you have this fear of, well, what will they think? And so you focus on what their feelings are, what their reactions are, rather than what it means to yourself to let yourself be free.
And possibly, like gay and lesbian people for a while, not wanting to admit that you have the feelings you do.
Oh, definitely. Many, many years
finally
of this.
getting to the point of, it's me.
You know, it took me 40 years to do it.
Oh, my word.
Much different than many people in their lives.
keep hoping the world will get a little friendlier so that people don't have to keep going through all that.
Well, we're hoping, I don't know if I'll see it in my time, but I think it's getting better as time goes.
Mm.
One of the issues that really comes about, though, is when I first explained this to a person I thought at that time was a friend of mine, his response was, if you would have told me you were gay, I could have handled it better. But this is different. And the difference is, when a person gay or lesbian comes and says, I'm gay or lesbian, there's no change in the outward appearance at all. With us, it's total change, obviously.
I suppose it becomes easier to deny and just say, well, we won't talk about it. But when the entire appearance of a person is changed, it gets a little more than difficult not to talk about it.
How do you... Yeah, it doesn't go away. It's not like taking a picture and putting it on a table and then you turn the picture over and it's gone away.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't happen that way.
But I've often heard people say that if all the gay and lesbian people were to turn purple or something for just 5 minutes so that everyone could see, you know, in a sense, if everyone was out, that it would be the end of any kind of oppression of gay and lesbian people because it would be so pervasive. But I guess to follow on that analogy, with you it's kind of true because it's, in a sense, like turning purple and you can't turn back.
That's right. That's right. It stays.
I mean, there's a much... we were talking about personal decisions earlier, and you know, whether I agree with the decision or not is irrelevant. Just to comprehend someone making such an incredible, to be faced with such an incredible decision of deciding what your gender identity is going to be, being willing to admit whatever feelings you have inside, recognizing that for you, much more than for me as a gay nun, there is no going back. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
How many times it becomes an issue of a life issue, do I live or do I not live?
Mm.
And what is the better method? And of course, life is the best choice overall. And it usually gets to that point of such despair as to what to do. This isn't true of everybody.
Mm.
I understand. But for some of us it is very true. That you hit bottom and it's, what do I do? This has been an issue for me for many, many years. It was for me. Now I'm facing it. And it's taken a considerable amount of time in my life to finally admit to myself that this is where I belong. Whether or not anybody agrees with it, whether or not my family likes it, it's not for their expectations, it's for my own.
But at the very least, they should respect the magnitude of the decision you made.
Part of my family does.
I mean, that's a decision that I don't know if I'd even want to be faced with. You know, something that, I know, I guess from where I stand, it seems overwhelming to consider something even more fundamental than just who do I fall in love with.
This is talking about a total change of appearance, total change of body, total change of genitals, a totally new and different life from things that I've been taught all of my life to suddenly jump the fence, so to speak, is a real learning experience and it's an eye-opener. It would be nice for a while if people would take the time to think on these terms, to try to put themselves in the shoes of another person and of the opposite sex. What is it like for that person? You find out an awfully lot about your innermost feelings. You find out what it is like for their struggles and not just your own. You start to understand.
On a lighter note, too, though, you find out the innumerable subtleties that people are completely unaware of. You know, when you talk about putting yourself in the other person's position, but I don't know, you know, until a transgender person such as yourself, you know, is literally in the position and is forced to grapple with every single teeny weeny little nuance and subtlety. And I don't know if just psychologically putting yourself in the role will ever make the picture that clear.
No, it won't.
You were mentioning before about, you know, even just such little things as how you walk past another person in the supermarket.
That's one. How does the difference between how a male will give you the time of day on a wristwatch versus how a woman will do it?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting in learning, getting in and out of cars in a skirt or a dress. What problems there are with that. Remembering to allow men to open the door because it's not mine anymore. Remembering that I don't stand in an elevator and wait for everybody else to walk out before I do. They're waiting on me to move.
Mm.
It's a constant reminder every day that I'm out that these are the things that have been a real learning process for myself. And again, after so many years of having been on the other side and having performed these things, opening doors, carrying groceries in, that the reverse is true.
Mm-hmm.
The reverse is true now.
And yet, always having a nagging doubt of some kind about who you were?
All the time, yes.
Mm.
It wasn't just something that I think about occasionally, it was all the time. And it was just go to sleep at night thinking, wake up in the morning, think about it during the day, and this wasn't just occasionally one day a week or one day a month, it was every single day of my life.
I suppose that sometimes it get frustrating, like a thought you didn't want to deal with that just absolutely would not go away.
Tried a lot of things to make it go away. Many, many things. 2 marriages, athletics, anything that I could do to try to say that my male life, I was a man. I was trying to live up to the role that was assigned to me when I was born. And this other side of me was always there, just saying, here I am, here I am.
And yet it seems to me life is so much more preferable when we get to the point of just being honest and letting life be whatever it is, instead of spending so much energy on trying to rubber stamp somebody's idea of what life should be onto what we are. I had a friend who used to remind me all the time, you should never shit on yourself. And so that was a funny little expression. You know, but it is something I try to keep in mind, you know, to beware of the word should, because that's the thing that seems to push us into so many corners we don't belong yet.
It finally comes down with this, that you are pushed into a corner and you have to make a decision with it. And are you comfortable living a dual lifestyle? Can you cope with that constant changing back and forth? Or do you need to stop and live one? And you know that as having lived one life and having always had this part of your life in existence as you go along, what do? You know that it doesn't go away. And for some people, like I said, they're very comfortable with it. For me, I wasn't. I couldn't keep going that way. I had to solidify myself and live one life only. And it wasn't really a matter of choice in my feelings. It was something that I've known ever since I was a little child, that eventually this would come about in my life, and I've just have denied it for too many years.
You did find the peace of mind or the wholeness of self that you were hoping for?
I have felt freedom in my life like I have not experienced before. And the reason for that is that that conflict is over with. There's no more thinking about why is this. I know it just is, and I'm very comfortable now. I'm very happy.
I had someone ask me fairly recently, just as an honest question, whether I was really happy being gay, and because of all the problems that come up. And I thought about it a second, and then I just told him, I'm happy being me, being gay. Where in the past, the conflict was inside of me and threatened to tear me apart. Now, the conflict is outside of me, and it's just me dealing with the world, but I'm not fighting myself anymore.
That's the major point on this, yes. Everybody deserves to be happy in their life. And so what is the problem with everybody else that because something happened in their life that they cannot admit what it is that they really want for themselves? Maybe they haven't looked deep inside of themselves hard enough to really find what they want for happiness. And that's something that I have done.
You mentioned family a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
How does the whole subject of family relationships bear on transgender people? Is it really just a thing? I mean, first thought I'm guessing most people have is that, well, it means you're completely cut off from everyone you ever related to forever and ever, amen.
Well, not really. Some are, some aren't. In my case, no, I'm not. I respect part of my mother's decisions as far as who knows and who doesn't, and I feel that I owe her that. This isn't something that I will force on anybody. In other words, if she knows that something has a potential for a problem with a very good friend of hers, which there is a situation like that right now, then there is not a need to know. And I think that that's part of the question that you always have to ask yourself. Is there a need to know? And who is it that needs to know? That's why earlier I said what to say, how to say it, and who to tell. It's a question of needing to know. With the family, all of my family knows. They were the first ones that I told. And it was very difficult to do what I did. And it was, after I did it, it was kind of like sitting on a whole pile of tacks and pins, trying to see, well, I wonder what I did now, and what the results of that are going to be. And a few years later, I know what the results of all of that is. But the people that reject me, I don't need them in my life anyway. The people that accept me and are my friends, they'll be there forever. And it's no different with family, it's no different with friends, it's no different with anything that you do.
I suppose it's making your own decisions and at the same time respecting other people's decisions.
Very much so. Going through a change like this, the best way that I know how to relate it is to say, instead of attempting now to live up to everybody else's expectations as to accomplishments in life, career goals, religious, family, that I'm now living up to my expectations of myself. And I think that that far exceeds anything that anybody would have thought for me. That's a real difficult thing to do. And you start putting your own thoughts and ideas into your head instead of trying to prove to somebody else that you can do something. And now you're proving it to yourself.
I guess to me that's where life becomes the real adventure. To see, instead of competing against someone else's standard, to explore, to venture into the unknown, specifically asking just what am I capable of and how far can I go? And until I try, no one's ever going to know how far I can go or how much I can do or what I'm capable of. For myself, I think of, I grew up in a small town in the Midwest, and the wonderful, something just a little ahead in line of the Ten Commandments, something to the effect of thou shalt fit in. And, as myself, as sister, who I have never managed to fit in anywhere. So I guess that's where I think it was a wonderfully liberating moment for me too, when I just decided enough of this. I'm just going to be my own person, because I'm not getting anywhere with the other anyway. And to find a way to make whoever and whatever I find myself to be something beautiful and something wonderful.
So you do have a place, don't you?
I mean, sometimes we have to make our own. But in any case, you mentioned earlier that if everyone knew every single person around them who was a cross-dresser, at the very least, that it would be just amazing, because so many people don't know that they do know people who would be qualified as transgender people. In growing up in a small town in the Midwest, the one thing I learned, I guess, as I was coming out, is the first thing I think in both our cases that people need to know is that they're not the only one.
That's the big information.
You know, that it's not just me. I'm not the one freak in the world. There are other people like me, because we're all different and there are other people like me. For so very long I remember my reflection wasn't me, but a different form and a different norm, something I was supposed to be. I remember touching others with hands that weren't my own. I remember being something that's no longer so unknown. Now my soul knows its face, and my heart finally knows its place. There's still a chance that my feet will dance, and my voice will sing out my true name. The music of my heart and hands, a holy mystery forever stands. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. I remember being hungry for love without demands. I remember being lonely in a world of shifting sands. I remember to the moment when the sun began to rise. I remember the revelation and tears of joy within my eyes. Now my soul knows its face, and my heart finally knows its place. The chance that my feet will dance, and my voice will sing out my true name. The music of my heart and hands, a holy mystery forever stands. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. Do you share with me the memory of life that wants to start? Would you share the great discovery of courage of the heart? Would you make the great commitment to be who you really are? Can we finally stand together to fill the night with stars? My soul knows its face, and my heart finally knows its place. There's still a chance that my feet will dance, and my voice will sing out my true name. The music of my heart and hands, a holy mystery forever stands. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. My soul knows its face, and my heart finally knows its place. There's still a chance that my feet will dance, and my voice will sing out my true name. The music of my heart and hands, a holy mystery forever stands. For love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me. for love unknown within has grown to become the gift of me.